Hello and welcome to a short video, or what I hope will be a short video, recapping my LUTI Season 17 experience with my team. This is a bit of a different video than what I'm normally used to doing. This is completely unscripted. I do not have a script for this, at all. I'm just running off of, my own thoughts, my own feelings, and just kind of talking about my experience doing LUTI with my team, stuff like that. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Basalt. I'm currently the co-captain of Mesopelagic. We were seeded into Division 10 this past LUTI season, specifically the Americas region, which we were hoping to get, and we ended up getting it, which we were very, very grateful for. It made things a lot easier. So this was my first LUTI season ever. I had heard of it a lot. I had seen a lot of people do it themselves. I watched a lot of content from last year. Mesopelagic actually was originally formed just as a quick pickup to do Season 16, so last year's LUTI. We weren't intending to be a full team at the time. We just wanted to, do LUTI for sort of just the fun of it, just to see what it was like. We ended up not being able to do LUTI, however, because we just could not find the right people to do it, and we realized, okay, if we're gonna do LUTI, we should probably find people that we actually like. Which is actually funny, because the week after signups for LUTI closed, we ended up finding a lot of teammates, 3 teammates in total specifically, that we really clicked with, and we were like, damn, let's just make a whole team and just be a team together for a while. So although I didn't get to play LUTI last year, this year we had been established for over a year now. We had, we knew each other well enough, and so we were like, okay, why not do LUTI this season? We had a lot of talks at first about, hey, so should we actually do LUTI? Are we in a good place as a team to kind of perform this? Do we want to just skip out on it this year? And we sort of just decided that, okay, this comes around once, maybe twice a year if you're lucky. We might as well just give it a shot and see how it goes. I'm very proud of our placement overall. Going in, I had originally set my own personal goal, not necessarily a goal as a team, but a personal goal that I would like to make playoffs, or at the very least, I would like to finish the group set with 3 wins to 2 losses, so a positive record. We sort of did both, where we made playoffs and we went 4-1 in sets. It wasn't just about the result for me. I'll talk more about because it was also about the improvement itself, but I'll talk more about that later. But it was really about the experience of what I got to do with my teammates. Mesopelagic has not been very consistent with doing tournaments in general. When we do tournaments, we tend to prefer open level over skill capped ones, so obviously our results were not going to be as good as they could have been in terms of, being oh, here's proof that we can beat teams at a Div 10 level, and so we didn't have a lot of that. But being consistent of having a set every single week was not something that we had really done. We usually would just do a tournament once a month maybe, which I think, having done LUTI now, having that weekly, okay, you are going to sit here and you are going to do a tournament once every week, or basically, a Sendoku set once every week, or best of 9 set once every week, I should say, we kind of got into this routine of having something each week that we really looked forward to, and I definitely feel like it kind of invigorated us to want to start doing tournaments more often. So now I think that's something that we're looking to do more often. So you'll probably get to see us in a lot more tournaments, hopefully by the time this video is published. I will also add that I am currently working on sort of a small, I say small, and knowing me, it's going to be large, video project kind of summarizing every single one of the sets that we played. Who knows, maybe by the time this video is finished, that series will already be out, in which case I will link a list to the playlist in the description below. But if it's not out by the time that this comes out, I hope you're looking forward to kind of seeing how we pulled off our 4-2 record over the entire season, which, again, very, very proud of it. So like I mentioned before, this whole thing, I walked away from the entire LUTI season just thinking, I feel like I've proved that I have the capacity to hold my own on the weapons that I play. Obviously, not every single match that we played was, perfect, but I feel like I've gotten one step closer to playing at a level that I want to be playing at. I felt good about a lot of the plays that I was making, not all of them of course, but I felt this was the first time in a while that I felt actually like I was making progress, like I was making a lot of strides, and it's definitely a milestone. It's what I hope to be the first of many milestones. So I guess to sort of start off a little bit with some more context going into this LUTI season, Mesopelagic had recently lost our old coach just a few weeks before the LUTI season had even started. And so when we initially had our conversation about, okay, do we want to play in LUTI this season, we fully expected that we were going to have to go into it with no coach, with no guidance, which I think for us made us a little bit nervous, a little bit worried, because having that guidance, having someone sort of behind us to be a bit of a shoulder we could lean on, is something that we had come to really rely on, really enjoy having over the year that we had been around. And so we were fully ready to not have that going into LUTI. And I think that having it made things way just much better for us. We ended up finding our new coach job like just a few weeks before the LUTI season had even started. If you want to learn more about them, you can feel free to check out my other video where my entire team and I spent a lot of time interviewing them, asking them questions, how they got into comp, but you're not here for the backstory of all that. So, Job joined us I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks before LUTI started, and we had a few discussions, a few talks about what the comps we run were, what our gameplay style was like, and obviously since we're a low-level team, we don't know all that much, and Job has had to sort of teach us a lot of things. Some things we knew, some things we did not know, just kind of learning things a little bit from the ground up. In some cases it was unlearning things, so we were constantly doing stuff like that during the LUTI season, which was very sort of rough, I suppose. It's like there's a lot that you're thinking of when you're playing LUTI, a lot to keep track of, and on top of it, having to unlearn certain bad habits that you had picked up over the year. It really doesn't do wonders for mental, but regardless, we definitely played to the best of our ability. We learned to the best of our ability, and I know although we struggled in some cases, we still made it through, we still made it out, and we still managed to learn a lot. I keep saying that, but like, you know, it really is true. We have learned so much just in the past few months since LUTI has started to now. I won't talk too much about our comps, what we ran, but when we first had that first week of LUTI, we went into it knowing that our backline list was going to be missing for, at the very least, the first 3 weeks of LUTI. So we were going to have to either force somebody to play a backline, our staple charger or pen, for a while, or we were just going to have to make do with what we had. In this case, we chose the latter. We went completely backline-less, completely cooler-less, so typically we ran, I believe, me on Dooley and her Wiper, my Captain Nam on Dreadringer, both vanilla and horns. One of our players random would play Decav almost the whole time, and then Train would usually be on Octobrush or Inkbrush Nouveau. So very short-ranged. We struggled into a lot of the longer-ranged comps that we faced. Thankfully, we did not face any leader teams, from what I can remember off the top of my head here. It was mostly like bow or like heavy or something like that. So I think we got lucky in that regard, especially since we didn't really have any like displacement specials that we could use. But for the matches that we won, I know we just sort of overwhelmed them with our raw and beautiful power.
That being said, with all of the wonderful things that we have taken away from the LUTI season, it's not to say that we did not struggle either, because we definitely did struggle. For myself personally, every single week that we had set stressed me out so badly. Like, I felt so pressured to perform to the best of my ability, more than I did in any tournament that we had ever played, in any scrim, like any Sendoku set. Like, LUTI felt like it was the pinnacle of performance, and I needed to perform the best that I could. It took a massive toll, like, on my physical health. I would not eat at all during the days that we had sets. Most of our sets were on Sunday at default time, and like so default time would be like 8 p.m., either 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Central Time, depending on, because it happened in between the clock change for daylight savings time. But so all day, like all morning, all afternoon, like I did not eat anything. I was so stressed that like my body was like, I would physically wake up in pain the next day because of like the stress it was taking on my body. We've talked about it as a team when we sort of had a little recap about how we felt about LUTI, all that sort of fun stuff. And I think as a team, we've sort of come to the conclusion that we don't know if we will commit to another LUTI season in the future, because it really did sort of become a decision between, okay, are we choosing our mental health, or our mental health, our physical health, all that sort of stuff, or do we choose our, you know, competitive experience over anything? That being said, I am still very, very happy that we participated in the first place. I'm not upset about it by any means. So it's just one of those things that I think a lot of teams should sort of consider, is that there can be a physical and mental toll on you, and just doing all of this for you get, at the very least, you get trapped. If you don't make playoffs, you get trapped into playing this LUTI season for at minimum 6 weeks, especially if you have to reschedule your sets to week 6. We ended up having it where our week 2 set, they rescheduled at like 3 in the morning day of our set, and we had to then do our week 2 set during week 6, which in and of itself was a problem, because week 6 default time, which was like the only time that we could do anything, was Easter Sunday. So both Random and Train had to play our LUTI set while they were at Easter dinner. They both had to go find somewhere there where they could like sit in a quiet space and play Splatoon. We still won the set. We still won the set, obviously. I'm still very proud of it. I could not imagine the frustration that they had to have to do something like that, but I will always be forever grateful for my teammates for doing something like that, just so we could have this set and do this set and do well in this set. And that's another thing that I think people should consider before signing up for LUTI, is make sure you know if there's going to be a major holiday sort of going over your one of your sets. Make sure that you know when that holiday is. If you're gonna have to leave for it, make sure you check ahead, which I don't think a lot of people do, because sometimes the default time will overlap with something like that, and so it can be a bit frustrating, a bit even maybe a bit dangerous, but regardless, I'm still proud of the time that we took to do that set. I'm still proud that we won it. And of course there's way more frustrations than just that. The only set in groups that we lost pretty badly too, and that also affects your mental, especially if you had been doing pretty well, winning all of your sets up until that point, and like, you take a bit of a beating, like, in terms of mental, when you come into a set and you're like, oh, you know, like, we just lost a set 0-5, like, after winning all of our previous sets, like, what the heck. We had a team meeting about it, like a quote-unquote emergency team meeting, and we talked about it, and I think that was probably the best thing that we could have done. We all kind of just laid open our grievances about what had happened, what we think we could have done better, and we were just honest with each other. And I think that's another thing that LUTI really, really requires, is honesty with your teammates. Like, you have to be able to talk to your teammates for this entire season. Like, you cannot just fall off the face of the earth. Like, you need to have honest, open conversations with your teammates, and I think that's something that really, that we've always been good at, being open, being honest with each other. I chalk it up to the fact that we consistently have a monthly team meeting where we just talk about whatever we have to. By the end of LUTI, when we had gotten to the first week of playoffs, so we had been playing for 7 weeks straight, we were just exhausted, and honestly, tournament exhaustion is something that we have struggled with in general, and we did our first set of playoffs, and we just, like, that set got done, and it wasn't even sad, because we weren't even sad because, like, oh, we wish we went further, which I do wish we went further, but we were just glad it was over. Like, we could not commit to, because if we had won that set, we would have at minimum had to do 2 more sets, and I don't think we would have been able to commit to that. So I think that about wraps up my personal feelings on LUTI Season 17, how it went for Mesopelagic, how it went for me personally. Will I do Season 18? Well, we'll just have to see what shape that Mesopelagic is in by the time that comes around again. But do I regret playing in this one? Absolutely not. I cannot recommend that every team plays in LUTI. I really cannot. But I do recommend a lot of teams maybe try. Give it a try. If you feel like your bonds with your teammates are strong enough to withstand all of the challenges, not just with scheduling, but with the losses that are going to throw everything into question, the toll on your physical and mental health. Like, if you feel like you can withstand that, then I could not recommend it more. But if you can't, then, well, I would say don't force yourself. There are other things that you can do in the competitive scene, other things that are going to be just as much fun, if not more fun, than playing in LUTI. We did get a lot of really cool scrim partners out of playing in LUTI. The people in our group were all so kind and wonderful, so thank you to everyone who are our scrim partners nowadays. We look forward to playing against you more often. And yeah, that's about all that I got, so thank you for tuning in, and I guess we'll see if I will do more unscripted videos like this. This was actually kind of fun, just doing a stream of thoughts, so I shall see you later.